Welcome. I'm not quite as ranty today as I was the other day. You know what song I've got going through my head today? I got one less problem without you. I got one less problem without you. I got one less problem without you. Boom, 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 boom. One less problem. I was in the bathroom today. I was getting ready for the day. I was pretty excited because I had like 3 sessions booked. If you're just joining me, welcome. I'm eating strawberries instead of drinking today. So I was in the bathroom this morning and I put the music on in the bathroom because like that makes my life awesome when I put music on in the morning. Good morning, good morning, good morning. Good afternoon, good evening, maybe good night. So I want to talk to you a little bit about money is such a crazy topic. Like everybody's talking about money. I've been talking about money for like however many years, or not talking about it, or not choosing it, or not being it. Good morning to all of you that are joining. Good morning, Daniel. And this is one of those topics that sort of like over the years has pissed me off in different ways. Hey, Brittany. And let me tell you why. Because I did not grow up with money. My family didn't have money. My mom actually hated money. My mom is the epitome of creating survival. That's what she does. Hey, Danielle. She creates survival. She's actually epic at it. Hi, Angela. And so like the money thing for me has been like, I basically moved from poverty mentality with my mom to like waitressing, where my target, actually, I remember my money targets when I first started, like my money targets were like $1,200 a month waitressing. And then when I got to $1,200 a month, I felt amazing. And then my money targets changed to like $3,000 a month. And then I got married. And so I supplemented my income with like husband income. Hi, Jenny. So anyway, so husband income, 11 years, and then I got to being single, and I'm like, can I be single? Can I even do this? And I did that, and I ended up paying my bills that way. Hi, Anita. So money for me has always been this like calculated amount in your head, and make sure you can create that. And if you get past that amount in your head, then you've done a good job, and you can stop now. Like truly, that's been what it is. So getting into access consciousness with all of these money tools has been a real game changer for me, and also it's been frustrating at times because it is totally opposite what it is that I thought I was doing all of those years. Hey, Claudia. So here's the first thing that I want to invite you guys to look at is like because a lot of you are access consciousness, a lot of you like use these tools. So cool. In different ways and in different. So I want you to look at how do you function with money right now? Do you get a number of like your monthly amount in your head and do you try to control that into existence? Do you have a good time creating money and it just shows up? Do you do all of the above? Like, hi, Renate. I don't know if I'm saying your name right, but if I butchered it, I still like you. Thank you for being here. How do you function with money? How are you still trying to function with money in the way that you thought created it before? So let me talk about that for a second. So when I look at where I've always functioned from magic, it is actually the energy of a dance party. And if you've been on some of my calls before, I've talked about this, but I was sort of reminded of it again this morning because I'm literally in the bathroom and I'm like I'm like dancing away to like, the stuff in the bathroom, like getting ready. And I'm like, in that space, there is no considerations about money. Hello, Rory. There's no, like, I'm not thinking about my bank account. I'm not thinking about the bills that I can't pay. I'm not thinking. I'm being an energy. And I've been going through the How to Become Money workbook with a lot of people. So if you want to come join me on that, message me and we can get you in on that. What's changed with that is this awareness of being an energy, being it and being it louder. I just had a session this morning with somebody and we were talking about judgment. and how she was hiding from judgment. Well, we didn't start out with that. She basically was like, I don't want to do this, and I don't want to do this. And I was like, so what are you aware of? Well, these are really judgmental people. And I'm like, okay, cool. And my awareness is like, the world is full of judgmental people. The world functions on judgment for the most part. That's how we're taught to be in the world. You know, you judge this person, you judge yourself, you judge your body, you judge your money situation. Like, that's what you do in this. That's what you do to get farther, to get ahead, as you judge yourself. And so therefore you'll change, right? That's normal. Well, the thing is, judgment actually doesn't create like we think it does. It doesn't. Choice creates. But we are so closely linked, judgment and choice, that we don't even see where the magic is occurring. So here's a really good example. Hey, Tracy. I remember a time when I wanted to change my body, and I chose to go to the gym. And within like 2 or 3 months, my body was changed. And I remember when I got into Access Consciousness, somebody was asking me, you know, like, was it the 3 months? Because I was sort of going, well, you know, you have to take action, and that's when things change. And I was sort of like proving that it was the actions I took that created the change. But somebody asked me, like, Truth, was it the choice that you made? Strawberries. Was it the choice that you made to go to the gym that actually changed your body? And I got a yes to that, which was a little bit bizarre, because I'm like, yes, and I did spend a lot of time at the gym, which I guess was what people told me changed my body. But is that true? Hi, Liv. Is it true that it was the 3 months at the gym that changed my body, or is it more true that it was the choice that changed my body? So when I looked at the energy, it was like, oh, it was the choice that changed it. Same thing. I did a Candida Cleanse. I remember I was seeing a nutritionist about 6 years ago, and I was having too much information here about to occur. I was having recurring yeast infections, and it was so annoying. And at the time, the only person in my life was this nutritionist. And so she said, well, to change that, you've got to do this cleanse, which was like a 30-day, really intense, eliminating all sugar, anything interesting from your diet you eliminate. And you eat chicken and rice, and that is all. And make sure it's organic, and don't laugh. That's pretty much the cleanse. So you can imagine that I avoided that for as long as I possibly could, and I totally did not choose it. And then, but I started getting sick of what was going on in my body. And so I chose to do that cleanse. And for 30 days, I did boring, you know, and I did feel so much different on the other side of it. But when I looked at the energy of it, when that thing started changing, it was the choice to change it that changed it. And the rest of it was sort of this like walking out of something that somebody told me to do to prove that I changed it. Although that's not the words they use. They're like, no, you have to do this thing to change it. So when I look at every single time that my money reality has changed, when my inflows have changed, when what I desire in my world changes, it's when I make a choice that goes, I'm not doing it this way anymore. I'm doing it another way. And I'm going to just be this in the world louder. That's when it changes. So that's what I want to invite you to look at with money. Like, because money's this topic, it's like, we can go round and around and around and around, like what your judgments of money are, what your problem with money is. So one of the questions we ask in the How to Become Money workbook is like, what are your 3 worst problems with money? What are your 3 worst problems with money? What have you decided? And so last week when we did the money workbook, and everybody without fail wrote down their 3 worst problems, shared them with us, and it was so interesting because every single person's 3 worst problems with money were actually capacities that they had with money that weren't problems at all. So here's what I'm curious about. Where are we hiding our capacities with money under the guise of a problem? And what can we do to flip that on its head and change it? And see, what I'm getting about myself is like, I cannot change an energy around a thing until I just change the energy of a thing. So sometimes for me, that's like putting on dance music. Sometimes for me, that's like doing a Facebook Live. Sometimes it shows up really differently. Sometimes it's I never go for a run. But in a past lifetime, it would have been going for a run. Sometimes it's going to a yoga class. Sometimes it's going down and taking a walk. But choosing something that changes the energy of a thing instead of staying locked up in my head. So how many of you guys stay locked up in your head about money? So for those of you that are watching, everything that is, can we destroy and create all that? Right, wrong, good, bad, pod, poc, all 9 shorts, boys and beyonds. It doesn't work. It doesn't create. The only thing that creates more money is actually being something different in the world and being it louder and not hiding from judgment. Listen, like, ain't nobody got time for you to be hiding from judgment, really. The world is judgmental. Like, people judge. I judge myself, right? Like, we judge. That's sort of how it is. So if you spend your life avoiding that and not being loud, not actually being out there in whatever way that is for you, because I get it shows up differently for all of us, then you are literally like shrinking your life to the size of this and not able to receive anything. If you can't receive judgment, you actually can't receive anything. I know that's broad, but I looked at that and I was like, okay, so one of the questions I asked this morning in the session is like, okay, so if I weren't hiding from judgment, what would I choose? If you weren't hiding from judgment, what would you choose? Would you talk to more people? Would you invite more people? Would you engage with people at all? Because I get some of us are like, well, I'm way out in the boonies. I've got a farm. I'm happy out here. I've got my own island. You know, I'm in a big, massive house in West Vancouver in this neighborhood where nobody lives. They just own shit. And it's so easy to be by yourself out here. So literally to engage with people, I have to make a really conscious choice to go be with them. That has not been my historically favorite thing to do. Is to go be with people. In fact, I've spent most of my life trying to get away from people because people are intense, people are judgmental, people have points of view. That energy is incredibly intense, and it is. It just is. It's solid. And I came here to change something, right? I came here to change something in the world. That's what I came here to be, is something different. And so when I look at what I have to be willing to be or receive in the world to be that difference, I have to be willing to receive a shit ton of the energy of judgment. And that's not even judgment about me or projections at me, although that is occurring as well. That's just judgment in general. We had to hang out with a friend of ours the other day, and you know, so many people function from points of view. That's what they do. They have points of view about food. They have points of view about money. They've got points of view about the way life should work. They've got points of view about you've got to suffer. It's got to be hard. Like, people have points of view. So it's not ease to be around a lot of points of view. Like, it can be that phrase that we say in Access Consciousness of all of life comes to me with ease and joy and glory is a possible reality. It is. And you have to choose it in every 10 seconds. All of life comes to me with ease and joy and glory. All of life comes to me with ease and joy and glory. All of the judgment you function from comes to me with ease and joy and glory. Jesus, you guys, I'm going to get to be with my family in about a month. My sister's getting married, and I adore my family, and they are not the easiest people to be around. I'm going to be doing some Facebook Lives. You're invited. Because I was looking at, like, what can I do or be with my family to make this fun for me? Oh, I could do Facebook Lives. I could have dance party. I could so where are you shrinking your life so that it fits into the order of this reality instead of choosing that thing that would break it apart and create question and this energy, and actually make it fun to be you on this planet, right? Like, what is that? Like, doing Facebook Lives in my kitchen is fun for me. Actually, my roommate just came down and he tried to eat, and I'm like, get your food. I'm doing a Facebook Live unless you want to be a center focal piece. Get out, But I'm like, I have been avoiding doing things even in this house because there's other people in it. So what are you avoiding being that if you would choose to be it in front of people and receive whatever energy that is would totally, totally change your financial reality? Because look, money's energy. I know. And truthfully, if you haven't done the How to Become Money workbook, do it. God, I'm doing it every week, and we've only done it 3 times, and I swear it's a different book every week. And I'm getting I am money. I am it. I am power. I am creativity. I am awareness. I am control. I am those things. I'm not they aren't outside of me. I'm not looking for them, right? Well, I was, but I've stopped because they're not there. I tried. It's not outside of me. Money is not outside of me. I am it. I am the energy that generates it. I am that presence that invites it. I am hey, can I have the money now, please? I am that. And so what I realized about my reality is if I am not willing to be that energy in the world, it can't show up. I mean, trust me, over the past 2 months, I have played with this in every direction. I've played with discounting my sessions. By the way, I think I just got interrupted by a phone call. I'm back. Okay, so I played with discounting my sessions. I've played with discounts. I've played with sales on my old products. I've played with this. I played with this in the opposite direction because I'm like, okay, I played with like asking for a lot of money and I've gotten paid lots of money. And so now let's play with asking for no money. And let me tell you what's more fun. Receiving lots of money, charging more money. I'm not discounting my sessions anymore. Maybe in the next 10 seconds. I'm like, it's so much more fun to receive lots of money for what I be in the world than it is to receive this much money for what I be in the world. That's why MoneyBomb 2.0 is coming out and it's not $50, it's $300 because it's so much more fun to receive money. And you know what? It's fun like to create that money, to pay somebody. I paid a coach one time $5,000 a month, which was crazy. I got some help to do it. It created so much in my world to choose that. So where are you keeping your life like to this small when if you would choose to be you, taking up the challenge of who you really are, would expand your reality, expand what you can receive, expand what you are in the world with total ease. And it's not going to look the way I am. I get all dramatic and like get accents and shit, and I'm going to start doing some fun stuff, but that's how it shows up for me. How does it show up for you? You know, are you drinking on Facebook Live, eating strawberries, or is it show up different for you? What have you been dreaming of, desiring to create that you have not been creating because? Because what? Because people are the way they are? What would you have to be willing to receive to go out and be amongst people? You get onto Facebook and you start doing social media, you're amongst people. You get out into the world and you start going to networking meetings, you're amongst people. You start talking to people, you're in with people. People are in the world, people are on the planet. So what would you have to be willing to receive to have ease with that? To have ease with receiving all of life, all of life. All of life comes to you with ease and joy and glory. Everybody's points of view, everybody's judgment, everybody's projections, that is how, dudes, that's how it is. That's the world we live in. And that's what we came here to change. That's what we came here to change. And you can't change that by hiding from it. You can only change it by being willing to receive it. So what I would invite you to look at is, where have you made judgment more powerful than you? And everything that is, would you destroy it and create it all? Right, wrong, good, bad, pod, poc, all nine shorts, boys and beyonds. Where have you made judgment and points of view more powerful than you? You got here, for fuck's sakes. You got through your family. You got to this place in this moment in time where you are living the life that you've actually always wanted to live. And if you are not acknowledging that this is a life you've wanted to live, start. I just acknowledged myself the other day, like, oh, I've actually been taking a vacation from being wealthy for the last 2 months. I'm like, I'm not exactly sure why I chose that, but I chose it. And I'll tell you, I've gotten so much awareness. And now I'm over it. I'm changing it. I'm over it. It's boring. It's way more interesting to have lots of money, to have lots of choice, to have lots of possibility. That is incredibly interesting. It creates a space in my life where I get to I can create from that space. I can't create from the space of no money and the energy of no money. I am money. I am power. I am control. I am awareness. I am. You are. That is what you are. What do we have? But I can think of people who don't seem to be those receiving energies, but they are financially successful. Yes, and do they function in that one area of their life different? Is there a piece of how they function that is different? Like nobody, this isn't a black and white game, you guys. This isn't like, oh, but only nice people get money. That's a judgment. Only nice and kind and receiving people can create money. Well, obviously that's not true because there's a lot of assholes in the world that have the money. What would it take to change that? Where if we decided that because we're kind, receiving, nurturing people, we've judged ourselves as like, okay, so we can't have the money. They assholes have money. I'm not an asshole, so therefore I can't have money. And I know that's not what you were saying, but everything that is, can we destroy and create all that? Right, wrong, good, bad, pod, poc, all nine shorts, boys and beyonds. Like, you know what I was thinking the other day? I was just like, what would I like to create with my money? And so I've been looking at Kickstarter and I've been looking at crowdfunding. Crowdfunding is kind of the new way of creating things. Like you can crowdfund now a piece of real estate in the United States. So 100 or 1,000 people can actually own a piece of property in the United States. So here was my wondering, what would it take to crowdfund buying Monsanto? Has anybody ever crowdfunded the purchase of a corporation before? I don't think so. I've never heard of it. I don't even know what that would be like. I have not even had a conversation with a lawyer, but what would that be like? I mean, sort of, it's like stockholders, and yet there's something else there. There's like, okay, so what would that take? So far, we've made everybody with money, all the corporations, everything that we like to change in the world, like, yeah, what would it take for Monsanto to go out of business? And I'm not making fun of you if that's what you've asked, but it's like, no, what would it take? What kind of power and knowing would we have to have in ourselves to like truly affect change in these areas of the world that we've been asking to change? Like, what if we started on Kickstarter? Like, we're going to buy Monsanto. I wonder how many people would jump in. You know, what could we create? I'm going to so do that. I'm just like, what if we walked into a boardroom with like, yeah, I've got $2.2 billion and I'd like to offer to buy you. Where are you cutting off your creativity, your willingness to be more powerful than everything else in the world? Where are you cutting it off? What can you be that's different? And so that's this, like, that's money. That is the energy of money. Like, it's not cash. It's not putting together the right offer. It's not having the right formula. Trust me, I have tried that. I've created everything that I've created in this world with no formula. I'm just being me and going, oh, well, okay, so I need a couple of pieces in place. Like I need a PayPal link and I need a graphic and I need a place where people can meet for an hour. All right, I'll do that. And now you're invited, you know? And that's when anything that's shown up in my life as if by magic has shown up that way. Not from the ordered way of like, oh, if you do A plus B, it will equal C. A plus B never equals C. It never shows up the way you think it will. So how do you function? How does your magic function? You've got to start to look at that. The little pockets, even if there's just little pockets that you can see right now, because I get that sometimes like we can't even see ourselves, but ask somebody else. Go find somebody else and ask them to give you some feedback. I'm like, I can't see where I function from magic. Can you give me a little more information about that? Like, what do you see? Because you clearly like me. You're hanging around. We go for coffee every week. Can you tell me where I'm magic? Because I can't see it. Ask somebody else to tell you. Where do you function from magic? How does that work? Power. I am power. You can't be more powerful than me because I am it. You can think you're more powerful than me. You can prove that you're more powerful than me. You can flail around in front of my face and I can go, interesting point of view. It doesn't mean you. If you weren't hiding from judgment, what could you choose? If you weren't hiding from judgment, what could you choose? If you weren't hiding from judgment, what could you choose? You have 10 seconds to live the rest of your life. What do you want to choose? 10 seconds to live the rest of your life. What do you want to choose? 10 seconds to live the rest of your life. What do you want to choose? If you put that question in your mix every single day, what would change for you? What would you be aware of? What could you create? Okay, that's all I'm going to do because I could keep going. Hey, if you want more of this, if you want to change your shit, come on to MoneyBomb 2.0. That's like MoneyBomb's that is that energy of like, bam, like that. What would it